Success in business it just must include the possibility that you might have to start over, which is easy for me to say, but doing it takes real energy and real courage. And my guest today has started over a couple of times. If you're staring at this possibility yourself, I really encourage you to hear what he has to say. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. Not only is that what they usually want, but care is better when the provider owns the practice because that's when they're going to have the most freedom to make the clinical decisions they think are best. It's just not always the same when somebody else owns the practice. Usually, eventually, their agenda starts to creep in. Let's just keep it simpler, keep it better, and keep it privately owned. My guest today is Dr. Michael Reed, aka the Cosmetic Gyn. He's a leading board certified cosmetic gynecologist with over 20 years of experience in women's sexual health. Dr. Reed's mission is to destigmatize sexual health services and normalize discussions about both sexual health and pleasure, empowering women in the process. Patients choose him because of his exceptional surgical skills, unwavering professionalism, and personalized attention. He approaches patient care holistically, utilizing cutting-edge, non-invasive technologies, optimizing hormone therapies, and prioritizing active listening to address his patients' unique needs and desires. As a member of prestigious organizations such as the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the North American Menopausal Society, and the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health, Dr. Reed remains at the forefront of advancements in female cosmetic surgery. Dr. Michael Reed, thank you for carving out some time to come on Practice Care.
Thank you so much, Carl. That was an amazing introduction. I almost didn't know who you were talking about there for a minute. But it is really just a great honor and pleasure to be here and just share some of the thoughts that I might have in my personal journey in private practice. So
yeah, and this is a bit of a different topic for us. I'm excited to get into it. And what I mean by that is a lot of our guests, we come on with like more sort of practical business advice about accounting or finance or whatever it might be. And that's all very useful. This is more of I'll call it sort of, get inspired kind of episode. It's more about, it's just different than debits and credits and whatever. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Before that, though, your bio is pretty thorough, but there's always more to the story. Help us get to know you a bit better. Just tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, a little bit more about myself. I think I should just start off. I mean, we said I'm a cosmetic gynecologist. I mean, what is a cosmetic gynecologist? I mean, it's a term, right, that describes, it's a term used for patients to let a patient know that this gynecologist is a little bit different. And what I mean by that is I like to think of us as a select group of physicians who, in fact, warriors for patients, particularly women in the realm of women's sexual health. And so we not only address cosmetic needs, we address functional needs. And this is something that I'm very passionate about. And it's something I think everyone should know about. And I think it's time that, doctors learn about cosmetic gynecology and become better warriors for our patients, because I feel like our women, modern day women today, should be allowed and cared for by well-intentioned, well-informed, and properly trained physicians. So
yeah,
I just want to be a part of that whole process.
Which funny, it sounds obvious when you say it, but clearly there's miles to go, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying it because you're experiencing it. So, all right, good. So thank you for that. Let's get into it. So we're talking about the courage to start over. That's the title of the episode. Let's start with you've, before we started recording, we talked previously, you've had a couple of episodes of starting over in your career. Just tell us a bit about those so we can, make sure that as we hear you talk, we're listening to the same thing.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first time was just graduating from residency. I finished residency, opened up a new practice, and started a new practice, and did exceptionally well. About 3-4 years into it, I needed to change and had to make a move because my wife at that time had some personal issues, and it was, oh my goodness, I have to close a practice that I have started and figure out what am I going to do now. And so it was a matter of investigating what's going to be the best for me at this point in time in my life. And in that point in time in my life, it was to be an employed physician, because I had to go from one practice, a private practice,
Mm-hmm.
and then make the decision to move to an employed position
Mm-hmm.
in order to bridge the gap for us in our marriage, right?
Okay.
And so it was a tough decision, but we did it. The second decision that I in my career that I thought was extremely difficult was moving from traditional OBGYN to now doing cosmetic gynecology.
Mm-hmm.
So that required me to, one, leave a position that I had been employed there for 16 plus years. So I had a lucrative practice. I had a big following. I mean, I delivered well over 5,000 babies, and my practice panel was probably 10,000 patients. I was the director of, not the director, but I was the chairman of the department of OBGYN for about 8 to 10 years. And to leave that and to make a decision to move away from that was probably the toughest one that I've ever made thus far in my life.
Wow.
And so, needless to say, I'm very happy at where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
It's made a tremendous difference in my life, and I'm glad I made that decision to restart again
Mm-hmm.
and get back to having a private practice in something that's so important as women's sexual health.
Yeah. So let's start with the second one first, with the switch from the employed back into private practice.
Sure.
Tell us more, like, how did you get to that decision? I need to do this, or let's dig into
Yeah,
that.
my
Because when you describe it, chair of the department, lucrative career, large patient panel, I'm listening to this going, I'm very curious. And I decided to leave all that behind and start with nothing all over again. So what was behind that?
Well, my change came out of burnout. It was came out of burnout. It came out of personal changes for myself. But when you look at medicine today, it's much different than it was 20 years ago. I mean, today there's so much bureaucracy. There's so many check boxes that we have to hit. It takes away from patient care, and then you're doing more and more work, and compensation is also remaining the same, which is always tough, and it's always a spot that's difficult for physicians. But hey, I mean, we take care of family, we take care of patients.
Mm-hmm.
And when I, as a physician, am out trying to figure out how do I, pivot, how do I pick myself up, it's hard to find that place being a physician. I mean, we're people who are, dedicated. We're warriors. We're not weak. We can just muster through. We can push on. But in medicine, it's hard to talk to somebody. I'm making tough decisions, and so out of all of that, I had to figure out something. And so during that time, while I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I make what once fulfilled me to my heart's content now pulling me down? How do I get that back? I can't go out now all of a sudden I'm going to be an engineer. I got to redefine myself within the expertise that I have. And so I had personal journey. And during that personal journey, I had part of that journey was weight loss. So I had a weight loss surgery, lost a lot of weight, and I had a lot of flab, a lot of excess skin. And so I wanted to take care of that. I thought, well, maybe if I look better, I'll feel better, and that'll get me back into feeling good about my job and doing what it is that I love so much. And when I did this procedure, my self-concept changed. I couldn't believe how empowering this procedure was. And I asked the doctor, I said, Doc, how do you do something like this? I mean, this is amazing. And what happened was the doctor told me, he said, go check out this other physician. He's a gynecologist. And it turns out this Dr. Matlock was doing female cosmetic surgery, liposuction, all these other things. And I said, oh my goodness, there's something else that I could do. So I delved into that. And I couldn't believe that there's this whole field out here that is not being addressed. And I said, this might be where I need to really spend some time, because I'm caring for women, and I've been doing this for 17, 20, 24 years, and I haven't thought about these things as it pertains to sexual health for women, and it was an eye opener.
Hmm.
And to be able to now all of a sudden learn all this new information, which reinvigorated me, and then to have that and know that I'm accustomed to being the best. So I wanted to learn from the best, and I found Dr. Gutman, who wrote the first textbook in female cosmetic surgery. He did about 10 scientific papers. I was able to practice with him. He then practiced with me for 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, it just has turned out to be the greatest thing. I mean, I've gone to 3, 4 different continents talking about female cosmetic surgery. I wouldn't have ever had that had I not taken that risk, had I not had that feeling and then tried to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And so and needless to say, I'm sure you can tell, Carl, I love what I'm doing
now,
and I love what I was doing before, but where I am now feels like I just came out of residency and I'm gung-ho, and I just am just reinvigorated. So when there was an opportunity for me to share with other people that at 54, you can go leave something that you have been doing for 20 plus years and do something different, and you will be okay. You will be okay. You will be okay.
Yeah. You said something I wanted to follow up on. You said it's hard for doctors to talk to someone.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
why
who
is
do you,
that?
I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Who are you going to talk to? We make some tough decisions. You got to make life, death decisions. When do I do a C-section? When do I do forceps? Blah, this, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of decisions. And so I tried, I went to a few of my buddies and, hey, buddy, hey, how are you? How are you feeling? You ever get tired? This kind of thing. And they go, yeah, but I mean, it's a part of the course. You just kind of deal with it. And that's about as much feedback that you can actually get, because that person might not be in a position where they're willing to open up and be vulnerable, even though you might be. And that might prevent them from feeling, capable. Even though sharing that vulnerability between each other probably would have strengthened us both. But it's a tough place. It's a tough place to be. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and then you said at the end, you will be okay. You said it 3 times. You will be okay.
Absolutely.
Dig into that one a bit. Like, were you saying that to yourself along the way? Did you kind of screw it? I'm going to do this. And, because I agree with you. Like, I have a couple thoughts on that, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So you'll be okay. You got, the whole thing for me was, all right, I made this decision. It wasn't a haphazard decision. It wasn't like I woke up one night and just said, I'm going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at and took some courses. And then when I was offered, thinking about doing this whole thing in Nebraska, is where I was initially going to do everything that I'm doing now. I was going to do in Nebraska. And during that, I mean, I'm 2 years before even taking a leap, I'm looking at what is going on in social media in regards to this. I'm looking at what doctors are doing these things and advertising that they're doing it. I'm wondering, are women even questioning and wondering about these procedures, and where would that be? And so, in that process, it probably is about a good 1.5 years, if not 2 years, where I did take some time just researching and seeing where is it I'm going to fit in with my own unique set of skills and making a big old splash. So the biggest thing is, first, is just trusting the process, right? Hold the vision and trust the process, right? So I had a vision in my mind, what I wanted. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I had to trust the process. And if you can do that, each little step will lead you to the next step. And at one point in time, you'll look up and you'll say, my goodness, I'm here. I didn't know how I got here, but I'm here. And that's the whole thing, is trust the process, hold the vision, trust the process is what I think. And that it's a hard one to do, but it's what you have to hold on to it. And
one of the things I heard in it, when I hear you'll be okay, I think, all right, what's the worst that could happen? How likely is that really going to happen? And how bad would it hurt? So like when I shifted careers and started this, I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself 3 years. This is what I said to myself. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm not making as big of a change. And if in 3 years it doesn't work, I'll go get a job. I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to lose my identity. Like all these fear factors that are just so much faster than the rational factors. They just come right
Yes.
in. They crowd out everything else. What's the worst
Yes.
that could happen, you know? And so um you'll be okay. You can always, like, if you hit a roadblock, you're like, oh, this isn't as great of an idea as I thought. Well, then you stop and you say, all
Right.
right, now what? Or I'll go back and do what I was. You can adjust, you know, you're
You can
not,
adjust,
yeah.
or you may have to, in the process, you can become a bigger person. The bigger the goal is that you want, it's going to take more work, and that means you're going to transform,
Mm-hmm.
which means you're not going to be the same person you were when you started this process. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to be a different person, and depending on that goal, you're going to become bigger and bigger in order to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
trust the process,
Yeah.
hold the vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the advice you would have for, you know, physicians who are staring at, man, I'm not happy for one reason or another. I need to change, you know, hold the vision, trust the process. Is that what you would say to them?
Yeah, that was one of the first big ones that I used. But another important one, I think, is and you got to do it, is learning to believe in yourself. Okay,
Mm.
I mean, I'm not talking about, you not talking about, the other doctor thinks that I'm real good, or my mom always said I'm good, so I think that you
Right.
you have to believe in yourself more than anybody else will believe in you. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to believe in yourself more than that person that you think of when you say that person believes in me. You have to believe in yourself more than that person believes in you. That
Yeah.
means you have to believe in yourself more than anyone else. And that's a tough one to do. And it's a process of learning to do it. And it just takes a little bit of time, but you just kind of continually focus on believing in yourself.
Is that
The
something
other,
that kind of come naturally to you, or did you have to kind of train yourself into that one?
I had to definitely train myself into that one.
Yeah.
I trained myself into that one, and one of the things that I think that helped me in this process of was self care, right? And what I'm talking about self care, I'm not talking about you're drinking or doing negative things or gambling. You got to do some positive things, and for me, it was walking. I had
Mhm.
never been a big walker. I definitely wasn't going to jog, but I would walk. And I started off with just a mile, and now I'll walk 4 or 5 miles. And what I found is that during that process of walking, it becomes kind of meditation. You kind of can reprogram your mind
Yeah.
as you're walking and going through. That walk also gives you time to cry by yourself, so nobody knows you're crying. Your spouse doesn't know you're crying. You're learning to believe in yourself, and the fact that you're believing in yourself, you're crying because you can't believe you're believing in yourself. And so this gives you a
Yeah.
great opportunity to just really focus on self and self meditation and building yourself up, right?
Hmm.
It's what we tell ourselves. That would be the last thing I would say that
Yeah.
I would want someone to take away from here. There are 6 words. Okay,
Okay.
these 6 words are: you become what you think about. That's what it is. You become what you think about. Those
Hmm.
6 words. I wish those were mine. I came up with that, but that was from a guy I listened to, Justin, you are creator, something like this.
Okay.
Amazing guy. And that 6 words stuck with me. So the more you think about it, the bigger it gets. The more you think about it, so let me back up. So if you're thinking about something, and as we're talking, even people as
Hmm.
they're listening to this, and hopefully not most of, but some of it may sound like noise.
Hmm.
Things that don't help us thrive is noise.
Hmm.
Things that help us to thrive or make ourselves better, we listen and we
Hmm.
perk up and figure out how it could make ourselves better.
Yeah.
So you become what you think about. So on those walks, I would think about, what is it that I want to be? What is it that I need to be? What is it I want to be? And it'll show itself. And it goes along with trusting the process and holding the vision, right? Because you're doing this walk and you're thinking about what you want to become, and you will begin to see little areas where you can improve upon to get you to where you want to be.
Hmm.
It's just so amazing. It's so that I would definitely say that you become what you think about.
Okay.
So if you want to become something, think about it all.
Yeah.
And you'll see ways to get there, because what we interpret as noise, there'll be some noise, and there'll be some things that we will stop and hear that will help us to thrive and get to that goal that we want.
Yeah. I
And
want
so
to
that's
ask you, did you have moments of doubt, and what'd you do about them?
moments of doubt. So I couldn't have moments of doubt. That you know, you don't. I didn't. Yes, I had moments of doubt, but I wouldn't succumb to them.
Yeah.
I might cry on a walk. I might cry by myself. I might pray on my knees a little bit, Lord, and ask the Lord to give me the strength to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't. No, I didn't let that. I didn't let that become my reality.
Gotcha.
You know? So push it away
Yeah.
and keep going is what I did.
Okay. I love this. This has been, I mean, just in the little time we've been talking about this, it's been really, for me, eye-opening. It's, in a way, there's not a mystery to it. It's picture what you want and go after it. I mean, which is a terribly simplistic way to say it, but there's a lot underneath that statement, but and be relentless about going for it. Does that sound right? I mean, I don't want to minimize it. Yeah.
I think that sounds perfect.
Is there anything we should have covered? I didn't ask you about, we should have covered. Anything come to mind for you?
It does. And I think let me see. How do I want to wordsmith what I want to tell you is well, you got to, it's on the lines of believing in yourself. You become what you think about. And I think you got to think of your mind like a garden. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You got this garden. That was a new thing I learned when I was out here in Sacramento, because Sacramento is like the biggest place from farm to fork. So I learned about farming.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do, you till the ground, you get the ground ready, and you plant seeds. Those seeds are your thoughts, what it is that you want to become, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you plant those seeds. And how do you cultivate them? You water them. What do? That means you educate yourself. You learn. You do everything you can to educate yourself. But then we know in order for that plant to grow, you need sunlight. And I believe that sunlight, you have to have some sort of higher power. In my feeling, it's God. It's just, I believe, I'm a Christian. I'm God. I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And God provides you sun. In order for things to grow, you need water and sun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the garden, there can be weeds. And these weeds are our negative thoughts, right? So we got to pluck those weeds. If you've ever had a garden and just let it go and not pluck those weeds, it will deplete your harvest. It can make it so that you don't even have an harvest.
Yeah.
Even though you have a plant and a wonderful idea. So you need to cultivate your land. You need to pull those negative thoughts, pull those weeds, and you stay on task. And that task is holding the vision and trusting the process. Mm-hmm. And remembering that you become what you think about.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I would like to say.
All right. I like it a lot. The other question I kind of asked to wrap up an episode is, so imagine we've caught some listeners' attention. Like, he's right. I've been thinking about this. I got to change, but it's scary. It's, it just seems so daunting, all the things that we've been talking about. But they're enthusiastic anyway, but they're just stuck. Like, I don't know where to start. What, any tips on some places where somebody could start and kind of get off the starting line and get moving?
Yeah, so here it is. So we are programmed as people, even through TV, everything. We're programmed to think about what would happen if it doesn't happen. We think about the negative thing.
Yeah.
Nobody that I've talked to in recent times tells you to think about what if it does happen.
Yeah, it's true.
What if it does happen? Yeah. What if the idea that I have in my mind that I want to accomplish does happen? How might that look? I think that's motivation.
Yeah.
How about we start thinking about what might things look like when we do accomplish it, versus, oh my God, what if I don't? This is what'll happen. This is what I'll try to do. This is what I'll work. No, let's start thinking about what might happen and what that might look like.
Yeah, I like that. I wanted to add another one. It was for you as the example of weight loss surgery, but what I liked about it was just step back from the specific example. You made a tangible change that you can only point to and say, this is great. Like, and if you start stacking up positive, tangible changes, they start to, you can't deny your own track. Like, I can do this. And so it's like
Right.
reinforcement of, imagine the success, as you said. What if this thing really worked out? And you take these steps, even if they're baby steps toward it, like you have to start believing it because you're doing it. Like
Right.
you gotta,
Exactly.
you gotta almost like sucker punch yourself into thinking, holy crap, this is actually happening,
Yep. Yep. You do
despite
whatever
my
it takes.
thoughts. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. How about that?
Yep. Sucker punch.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you. I really appreciate it. Like I said at the beginning, this is far from the, nuts and bolts business type of topic, but it's very, just like I said, many businesses have to pivot from time to time, sometimes substantially. And you just, if you bury your head, uh, it may not go so well. So get ready for it. And so I think my hope is you've really helped some people. You've armed them with some things that they can think about to say, okay, I can do this. This is doable, not just because he did it, because what he said makes a lot of sense. So thank you so much for coming on Practice Care and doing it. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Carl, for having me. It's truly an honor. It's a pleasure. And just to relive the steps that I've gone through really just helps me to believe in myself even more. So I appreciate
Awesome. Thank you so much for saying so. A
it.
couple of points before we wrap up. First, you supplied a lot of contact info. I'm going to put it all in the show notes for the episode so that anybody who wants to
Okay.
get a hold of you,
Thank you.
another way to do it. If you are someone like Michael Reed or someone like you either are a private practice owner or you seek to serve them like we do and like many of our guests, and you've got some experience on the business side of practice, whatever it is, we really want you to come on Practice Care and tell the world about it. All of this advice is really valuable advice. In the show notes for Michael's episode and every episode, there's a link, a couple of clicks, tell us what's on your mind so we can get you scheduled as soon as possible. And finally, we do a new episode every week, and the easiest and best way to stay up to date with them is if you subscribe to Practice Care. Just one word, Practice Care. Search for it. You'll find us on Apple, on Spotify, on Amazon, on YouTube, pretty much every player. Really easy to find. Subscribe, and that way you'll be staying up to date. Thanks very much, and until next time.